Okay. All right. So one thing that tends to come up is, especially after you start to build some savings in some of these categories. So if you're building up auto maintenance, or you're building up home maintenance, or you're saving for these wish farms, or you've built up this rainy day fund, it's, well, I don't want to keep all this money in my checking account. So how do I utilize my savings account and in my budget? Some of the concern stems from if you were in the habit before of kind of budgeting from your checking account, where was it in my checking account? Yes, then I can spend it, and we're not really knowing what's going on. You're kind of in your mind budgeting. You just have to make sure that you obviously don't overdraw your account. That would get expensive, and sometimes if you're not paying attention, or you're only kind of budgeting in your head, sometimes you'll either overdo it, you'll keep extra money in your savings account that you don't necessarily need to, or maybe you are overdrawing your account. So how do you utilize a savings account with the budget? And the simplest thing to do is, as long as you set your budgets aside, as long as you're working within these numbers, only spending what's available. If you overspend what's available, you're moving something from another category to cover the overspending. As long as you're managing this, and this is at zero, and your budget's pretty clean, the way that you can utilize a savings is, if let's say I want to have my rainy day fund, my auto maintenance, my home maintenance, and these things that I'm saving for, let's say, these are things I don't need to have sitting in my checking account. If you just click on those categories that you think you can just keep in your savings account, then over here it will show you what's available. So in this case, $1,872.03. I know that I can take this money, $1,872.03, and I can have it sitting in my savings. And first, obviously, you'd go to your bank account and move the money from your checking to your savings, or any account really. But as long as it's listed here, if it's a savings account with your bank, or a separate savings account, or something else, all you'd have to do is just see, what amount do I want to put in my savings, come into your checking account. You would you just move the money. So you do a transfer from your checking account to your savings. You would do it for, I can't remember what I said, 1803 something, some pennies, I think is what it was. Let me check. I just want to do this right. What was it? So it was my rainy day, my auto maintenance, my home maintenance, and all of my wish farm stuff. So 1872. Let me just copy this. 1872.03. So I can just come to my checking. I would move it from my checking to my savings. So this is just a transfer, no category, because I'm just moving between accounts. If you remember that, it's an outflow. So I'd put it here. Then obviously I need to go to my bank and actually move the money, but it would move the money from my checking to my savings. So now I have these different categories, my rainy day fund, and obviously these different future expenses, wish farm, or anything else for that matter. I mean, you can keep whatever you want in your savings account, but if you want to know how much can I safely put in my savings account so I don't overdraw my account, you can just pick the ones that you just want to set aside in a savings account, and that's what you would do. So you can utilize a savings account to actually budget your money. Now, not that savings accounts pay a whole lot, but they definitely pay more than your checking account does. So if you have money that's just going to be sitting there, like a rainy day fund or some auto maintenance that you don't think you're going to use for a while, you can just set it aside in your savings and earn a little bit of interest while it's just sitting there. If you ended up, let's say, spending money on your auto maintenance, so say you spent this $200, then you just know that you'd need to know that you'd have to move $200 from your savings to your checking, or whatever account you ended up using, in order to cover the amount. But that's it. So that's how you can utilize a savings account in order to budget. I would say, just as a general rule, if it's not a checking or savings or a normal kind of budgeting thing, because what you're going to want to do is, with your budget and the money that you have available, is you do want to make sure that you give every dollar a job. So you don't want to have a lot of extra money sitting in this to be budgeted, even if you just made an additional category like, I have extra money, I don't know what to do with it. You can stick it in there, but put it in somewhere. That way it is allocated towards something and you can set it aside. If it's something that is just extra and you want to save it, then you can start getting into moving it completely out of the system. Remember we talked about in the system, out of the system. You can move it out of the system and put it into a completely separate account. At that point it's kind of off and it's not considered in your monthly budget. So that could be an outside investment account, something of that nature. So that's how you use it, a savings account. If you just want to go over, I find that people are a little bit worried about overdrawing their checking account or how to use a savings account, and that's just a quick and easy way to do it. Is just check these categories off, put it in your savings account. So hopefully that helped. See you in the next video.